thanks again for coming to the homebuyer seminar. All I want to do is to give you guys a game plan, and so whenever you guys are definitely ready to start looking, whether that be next week or in 2 years, that you guys know how to get started with this process. So first, just kind of have to ask yourself, are you ready to buy a home? Besides just the desire to buy a home, to have a bigger yard for your dog and to have more space, to not have noisy neighbors, or what are the other factors to determine if you're financially ready to buy a home? So we're going to talk about where your credit score has to be, if you qualify for a loan, how much you need for a down payment, and when to start looking, amongst many other things. But these are kind of the top 4 questions I get at homebuyer seminars and at buyer consults. So just know that we will be covering all this stuff. So first things first is what makes up your credit score. So in a non-virtual homebuyer seminar, I do normally have a credit repair specialist here to answer questions. And if you need his info, I'll be happy to pass that along to you. I work with someone named Nathan Biller from White Jacobs and Associates that helps people get their credit scores where they need to be. But there's a couple things that make it up. Payment history. Do you have any late payments? How much exactly do you owe versus how much credit you have? What's the length of your credit history? If you've had a credit card like me since I was 18 with Victoria's Secret that I never ever use, it actually still helps my credit because I've had it for so long. How many new credit cards have you opened or new credit accounts? So if you just bought a new car and you also have a furniture credit card and credit cards at different stores, all that affects your credit score. And also the types of credit you have. If you only have credit cards and not different kinds of credit, your score also will be not as high as someone who has a lot of diversity in their credit score. But again, this is just kind of an overview. If you don't know what your credit score is, the lender will actually check it for you. And then if it turns out it's not exactly where you need to be to reach your goals, they'll pair you up with either Nathan or another credit repair specialist to help you guys out. Any questions so far just about credit? Cool. So as far as where you need to be for your credit score, there's a couple, three numbers I want you guys to remember. So one is 580. That's the minimum credit score to get an FHA loan, which is a government-backed loan. There's nothing lower than that will be able to get you a mortgage. So that's going to have to be like the minimum threshold. The next is going to be 620. If you want to get a conventional loan, which is a little bit of a stronger loan in general, doesn't have as many hoops to jump through whenever you're looking for a property, it's going to be 620. Now, the highest that really matters as far as the mortgage world goes is going to be 720. If you have a 720 credit score and your neighbor has an 800 credit score, you guys will still qualify for the same loan because really nothing else is above 720 as far as loan rates go. Between 620 and 720, that's where each little bit could be a different rate. So you still want to improve your credit if you can, especially if you're in a lease and have a couple months before you can start looking anyway. It's a great way to just start making your credit go as high as possible so you can qualify for the lowest rate. And rates are super low right now, even with all the coronavirus stuff going on. Rates are still at an almost all-time national low and historic low. So it's a great time to take advantage of those. Any questions about credit scores at all? Cool.
How long do you need to keep your credit score? Like, if you know I have a 595 when the mortgage company pulls it.
Mm-hmm. So you have to keep it until closing. The day after you sign papers, that's when it can do whatever you want it to do, but you have to keep the score until closing.
Okay.
So after that, it doesn't matter as far as our purposes are. So what goes into a mortgage? If this is the first time you've ever shopped for a mortgage and you don't know much information, a lot of these words might not seem familiar to you. So I just want you to kind of get in touch with some of the verbiage. So there's something called PITI that you're going to hear a lot in the mortgage world. Now, I'm not a lender. This is just kind of like a basic vocab lesson so you can kind of know some new words for whenever you speak to the lender, you feel confident. One is principal. So if you get a loan for $300,000, and you put 10% down, your loan is going to be $270,000. That's your principal. The $270,000 is what you're going to pay off for the 30 years you have your loan. Then there's the interest rate, and that's again determined by a bunch of other factors, but you're going to have to pay interest every single month as part of your mortgage. Then your taxes. These are property taxes. Texas doesn't have state income tax. They only have property taxes. So we do have some of the highest property taxes in the nation. So you do have to take that into account with your payment and your budget. Insurance. That's another thing we have to just keep in track with your budget. If you're buying a condo versus buying a 5,000 square foot home with a pool, your insurance payments are going to be significantly different. So we have to keep that into your budget as well. I also included PMI or MIP. It's the same thing. They go by different names. Private mortgage insurance. If you put less than 20% down, which most people do, like 99% of my customers do, you'll have to pay a certain percentage. Normally it's about $100 a month or so in order to, as part of your mortgage, in order to insure the mortgage, because you're not paying that 20%. Now, a lot of people get scared at that. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to pay that. Just keep in mind that home prices now are so much higher than they were in the past that coming up with 20% of, $300,000, that would be what, $60,000? Most people can't save that much in a short amount of time. It's just very, very difficult, but they can pay $100 extra or $100 into their budget monthly rather than try to save thousands of dollars a month to try to come up with that benefit. And right now, with the interest rates being so low, it's actually smarter to just pay the private mortgage insurance in order to get those benefits. They do turn out to be better in most cases. Now, if you're going to talk to the lender more about this, but just know that not in some occasions, the PMI can go away. You can pay it off early, or you can pay it off right at the beginning, but that's something to discuss with the lender to see what the best options are for you. Any questions? I know this can be very confusing if you've never heard about it before. Great. And I actually forgot to change this picture, so that reminds me to do that. All right, so how do you get started with the loan process? I'm happy to give you guys my recommendations. I work with several amazing lenders. A couple of them don't even charge origination fees. And what that means is most banks and lenders charge you 1% to 2% of the price of the loan in order to just give you the loan. So again, we're using that same example of a $300,000 house. Let's say your loan is $2,700. That's roughly, $270,000. That's roughly $2,700 just for an origination fee. So that would be completely waived with the certain lenders that I have, and they also give other incentives. So I'm happy to pass that information on to you. You're going to fill out an application with them. Now, during this time, if you're wanting to shop for a mortgage right now, you have to get all your documents in quickly. Currently, because of the coronavirus and all the stuff the stock market's doing, rates are going like this. And it can be scary, but just kind of have to think about it, how they're evening out. And because they're going like this, if you apply on a date, the rates are high, don't worry about it. They're going to go back down. It's just because a lot of money's changing hands right now all around the world, which is making them like artificially go up and down. The good thing is when they do go down, you can lock them in. And with certain lenders, if it goes down again, they'll allow you to float down to the next tier down for free. Other lenders will charge you to change your rate around. So just kind of know that with all the stuff going on right now, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Things are still progressing relatively normally. We'll talk about the differences later on, but just know that you have to get that application in, because let's say the rates go down to 3%, you haven't turned all your docs in, the next day they go up to 4%, which happened last week, and then they go back down to, like, let's say 3.25. It's still a great rate and you were able to lock in a great rate, but you missed the opportunity for the best rate. So that's what we don't want you to do, is we don't want you to miss the opportunity for the best and have to, in your mind, settle for something not as good, even though it's still a very good rate that you got. So just please turn in your information as quickly as possible. Pre-approval. So after you do all the application stuff, you're going to get a pre-approval letter, and I'm going to get that letter as well. Once we have that letter in hand, we can go shopping. So just know that until we have that pre-approval letter, we can't go out and see houses. If you're in Dallas County, we might not be able to see houses anyway, but at least we'll be ready to go as soon as we can. Then you and I, or whoever your agent is, will help you make an offer. We tell the lender all about that offer. Once it gets accepted, the lender is gonna start doing their job, and that's called underwriting, which means that they're getting the loan ready for you to close on and be able to fund your purchase. And then we go to closing, or you go do closing remotely or in your car if needed, like some title companies are needing to do right now. But no matter the method, we're still doing closings at this time. Title companies are still working hard. So there's a lot more to do with the loan process, a lot more. The loan process there's a lot to do on the front end before we go see houses. So this part is essential. So as soon as you think you're about 3 to 6 months from purchasing a house, I'm recommending starting to talk to a lender. You might not do the application at that time if the lender says that you still have some work to do, but you might go ahead and do it just so you can see where you stand. Any questions on the loan process just in general? No? Thanks. All right, so now we're going to talk about something I'm very passionate about, which is why buy in the first place. So the average homeowner has a net worth of $231,400, 46 times that of the average renter's net worth of $5,000. This sentence, what it means is if a homeowner were to sell all of their possessions, everything they owned, they'd have over $200,000. If the average renter was to sell everything that they owned, they'd only have about $5,000. So that's a huge difference. The most millionaires in America got their money from real estate. And that's a true fact. Like the most people that are millionaires, like they have made their money through real estate. The most Americans have their savings and their retirement in their home. They don't have it in a bank or in stocks. Most of their net worth is in their home. So it's very important to have home buying and home owning as a goal. And it's not just, again, for that big yard and to have no noisy neighbors. It's because it is a financial boon. It's a financial privilege that Americans get. Now, I'm going to get a little bit granular right now with a couple more things that I really think everyone should take into account when thinking about home ownership. So there's 3 things I'm going to talk about right now, and these are all other reasons why you should want to have becoming a homeowner as part of your plan. One is appreciation. Does anyone know what appreciation means? That's okay. Most people don't get taught appreciation in school, but what it means is, in general, if you buy something for a certain price, over time, that value of that item will go up. What's up? Who was talking? Will go up. So here's an example. Let's say you have a home that's valued at $300,000, or you bought it for $300,000. The average appreciation rate in the United States is 4%. Now in Dallas, it's normally a little bit higher. In the past, it's been up to 10%. Currently, it's trending more at 4.3%. And right now, in the time of Corona, I'm not sure how we stand with the average home in America, but I still believe we're probably around 4% or a little bit above. So what that means is if I buy a house today in 2020 for $300,000, it's going to appreciate at an average rate of 4%, which is about $12,000. So that means after 1 year, my home is now worth $312,000. In 2022, I get to do that same calculation on that $312,000 price. So I'm not going to do the math on that right now, but just kind of, you can see how it can exponentially be worth more and more and more every year as long as that appreciation stays up. which in Dallas, in the last 20 years, there's only been 2 years where the appreciation has not been above the national average. And those were, of course, 2008 and 2009. And then it shot right back up into the double digits. So it's very safe to invest in Dallas at the time and for the foreseeable future. Now I'm going to talk about principal payments. So principal we talked about a little while ago. This is the actual amount of the loan that you're paying back. So again, let's say you put 10% down, 30,000, which again, you don't have to put 10,000 down. You can put way less. The lender will give you all those options. Your mortgage amount would be 270,000. Sorry if you hear my dog barking in the background. There's obviously people walking outside. I just put an interest rate of 4% because last month, whenever I updated this, that was about the average interest rate, but now it's actually down. But for math's sake, I'll leave it there. Average term for a mortgage is still 30 years. And here's an example of what that PITI looks like. So that'd be about a $2,000 payment.
Can you what?
No. Claudia, I'm gonna mute you. All right. So that means after the first year, you owned your home, because of having to pay taxes, insurance, and interest, you're only actually paying about $4,000 into your principal. Now, you're like, wait, I had to pay $2,000 a month. How did I only pay off that much into the principal? So whenever you get a loan, this is going to sound like a big word, but your loan is amortized. I don't even know if I can say it today. Amortized. Much like a car payment, where you're paying the bulk of the interest first and it slowly dwindles down. So your mortgage is going to stay the same payment as far as the principal and interest, but your principal payments are going to go up over time and your interest payments are going to go down over time. So they like each equal out the same amount every month. Now, why does this happen? It's simple. That's how banks make money. There's no way around that. It's just how it's going to be and how it's going to stay. Because they know you're not going to stay in the house for 30 years. So if they give you the same interest every month, there's a bunch of interest they're leaving on the table when you sell your home. So they're just wanting to charge as much interest as possible up front. So every year on year 2, let's say in 2022, this principal payment that you're going to make is going to be a higher dollar than it is the first year. So the first year is always going to be the lowest that you contributed to your principal. But it's still $4,000 you're knocking off your loan. Now, having said all that, that interest that you paid is not just lost. You do get to recover some of it. So that's how much you'd pay in the first year in interest. Now, when you compare these two numbers, it can seem very depressing that the interest you pay is $13,400 and you only paid $4,000 towards the principal. But again, the first year that you are a homeowner, that will be the highest year of your interest. So it will, go down, but you do get to write some of it off in taxes. And you get to do this every year that you pay interest. So assuming you're in the 28% tax bracket, which most Americans fall into, your tax savings in the first year are about $3,800. And that's cash back in your pocket. That's literally whenever you're doing your tax return, you get that money back. Now, if you owe money on your taxes, obviously that's deducted from there, but that's a huge savings in that first year that you get to just benefit from just from being a homeowner. So whenever you're thinking of renting, if you're spending $2,000 on rent and you say, oh, I don't think I can afford a house, a lot of people forget about these savings. Because if you think about it, I'm going to do a math real quick of just what $3,800 is over 12 months. So that's $316 a month that you actually have more in your budget than you thought. So just kind of food for thought. Your lender will also take this into account as well whenever thinking about your monthly budget. So any questions about anything I talked about on this screen? I know it's a lot of information, but I think it's really important to know what your savings are. Okay, so all that being said is that in the first year of home ownership, your net worth has increased almost $20,000. Now, what people don't realize is when you're paying rent, this is also happening. You're just doing it for your landlord. All these things don't stop happening or because you're renting. You are just helping your landlord increase his or her net worth by that much a year. So why can't it be you? Why don't you want to increase your net worth? And those are the things that people don't normally think about. So now we're going to get to the more fun part. I'm almost done. It's just what can an agent do for you? Either myself or whatever agent you decide to work with. So we're going to talk about the market in DFW. We're going to talk about how to help secure financing, which we've already gone over, how we find and show homes, how we negotiate, guide through the actual home buyer process once you're under contract, and we're a resource for you as for vendors. All right, so step one is just to call us. This is the Ben Kinney team. There's a bunch of us on the team, of course, being myself, or if you're in another city or looking to shop somewhere else, let us know and we'll be happy to connect you with a top agent in your area. So the buyer consult. This is gonna take about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on your questions. We suggest setting up an actual buyer consultation one-on-one with an agent 3 to 6 months before you want to move. So if you're in a lease that you get out of your lease in August, you can start looking for a house now, or at least start sitting down with someone, because we want to just make sure, again, all that stuff we talked about, your finances are in order and everything. And depending on your particular needs, if you're in a market or looking for a home that's moving really quickly, we might need a little bit more time. Or if you are looking in a price point that a lot of people are looking in, again, we want to just make sure that we have plenty of time to find you a home. We're going to go over needs and wants, just, the regular bedrooms, bathrooms, all that stuff. Go over timelines, not just when you want to move, but we're going to talk about this. On this day, we need this check. On this day, we need that check. Here's what monies are needed here. So you're 100% prepared for all of that process. And we're going to talk about the DFW market at that particular time you're looking in that particular area. For example, today, the market in Highland Park and the market in Arlington are going to be completely different, even if they're only 30 minutes apart. So we're going to talk about exactly your situation. This is some numbers I pulled last month. Obviously, with Corona right now, things are just a little different, but it's still not that far different. I wanted to talk about it just so you understand the scope of the Dallas-Fort Worth market right now. So the median price in 2019 is $273,000. That's up 3%. So prices have increased. Here's some price distribution just for your knowledge to kind of know where the majority of homes are. So you can see here the majority of homes are under 300,000, but then there's a good even distribution throughout the other ones as far as what we'd expect. Active listings, 13.7% it's the increase of since 2018, which means that we listed more homes in 2019 than in 2018, a lot more homes. Yet, I'm going to skip forward this way, our months in inventory have gone down. So in 2018, our months of inventory were 2.4 months, and we're down to 2.3 months. An even market where buyers and sellers have equal footing is 6 months worth of inventory. So we're still very much in a seller's market. But this honestly seems normally counterintuitive. You're like, how did the months of inventory go down, but our listings went up? That means we had that much more buyers in 2019 than we did in 2018. Rates were so good that there was just an influx of buyers in the market as well as listings, because sellers knew that they'd also be able to get a good deal because there's lots of buyers looking around right now. Closings are up 3% as well. And days on market, let me move this screen because I can't see all of it. Oops. Oh no, there we go. And days on market have gone up a little bit as well, 82 days on market. Now, my theory for this is that a lot of sellers are seeing how hot this market is and are overpricing their homes, because we've also seen a lot more price cuts in 2019 than we did in 2018, which is good for buyers, because that means that even though the market is hot and the market is moving, buyers are putting their foot down and not going crazy with having to pay more than a home is worth and having to accept a home that needs lots of repairs. So buyers are still in a great position, even though prices and everything are gone up. Now, this information is readily available every month or so. So I can choose different areas in different cities. So if you want to know a specific area in Dallas Fort Worth and want to know what's going on there, just let me know. I'm happy to pull you more specific data. Does anyone have questions on this? Nope. All right. So now, this is all another, it's going to look way different now, but Dallas buyers, the market is getting a lot better for buyers. So you can see here exactly what I said before. We have lots of new listings. Just as many are going under contract. And honestly, it hasn't changed that much since the coronavirus stuff has hit. We're watching those numbers every day though, just to make sure the market is still, where we think it is. You can see a bunch have gone back on market. We used to not see that. A bunch have price decreases. So this is where, again, those buyers are saying no to sellers with unreasonable expectations, but just as many are being sold. So still lots of activity going on in the market. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about coronavirus and how has it affected real estate. So in the past, all those meetings that we're having would be like either at a coffee shop or at our office or at your home. Now we're offering to do them virtually. In Dallas, if you're in Dallas County, there's no other option right now. If you're in Collin County, we can still, go to people's homes and everything, but we're all trying to stay safe, right? So we're gonna try and do the virtual options first, always, for everyone's safety. We're gonna be able to communicate with you over text, email, phone. We don't have to meet up in person in order to tell you about the newest homes. Virtual showings on all my listings, and I know a lot of the listings that our team has, we're doing virtual showings. We're going ahead of time, taking really in-depth videos. So when we have buyers interested, we can send them that video. I did one that was about 15 minutes long. I'm like, sorry for everyone who wants to watch this, but I really wanted to be super specific so everyone can see every part of the home before having the sellers having to leave it and then having to disinfect and everything and having to have that worry if that's something that worries you. We have always done electronic signatures, so we still have that option for all our people. Earnest money, most of our title partners accept wired earnest money, so that's not a problem. And even option fees, we're doing a lot of those electronically as well. Home inspectors are insisting buyers not come to the home while they're doing the inspection now. They'll do everything with you over either a FaceTime call or over just a regular conference call. And then closing as well. Kind of sad we're not able to attend closings as agents right now, but you're still able to attend. They're taking lots of precautions to make sure everything is clean, or doing electronic notary or remote closings. And then you still get to go home. Now, during this whole time, we can find times to go to the properties. We're just trying to make that a very small amount of need to go to the properties. Any questions on that virtual process? All right, cool. And we have actually been doing this for a while because Dallas is one of the top places for people to move in the US. So we've been doing virtual transactions for years. This is nothing new to us. We're just adding an extra component of being safe and adding like Lysol wipes and all that sort of stuff. So what does all the stuff that I talked about mean for buyers? One, you have to be pre-approved. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you're thinking that you don't want your credit pulled because you don't want it to change your ability to get approved, then you're not quite ready to get a mortgage. If you think that getting one credit check is going to tip the scales so much to where you won't be able to be approved, and therefore you don't want to you don't want to go through the pre-approval process until you find the right house, that's not the right mentality. We have to get pre-approved before seeing houses, not the other way around. There's also never a bad time to buy. A lot of people say, should I buy in the spring? Should I buy in the winter? There's never a bad time. It's just a matter of what's most important to you. If what's most important to you is getting a great deal, then maybe start looking in the wintertime. If the most important thing to you is getting your dream home, then you're going to have more options in the spring. It doesn't mean that home doesn't also exist at any other time of year. You're just going to have more options. It's just a matter of odds. You might have to wait to do updates and repairs. Now, we're able to get a lot more repairs through than we were in other years when the market was going crazy. But in order to make the best decision, you might buy that house that's a great price in a great neighborhood that maybe doesn't have granite countertops. We're going to talk about what's the best way to get you into a home that's best for your wallet and also for your family. Also be open to looking farther out into new construction. A lot of people don't know that you can get a brand new home, 200 square feet, 4-bed, 2-bath up in Salina for $280,000. While if you're looking, like say in Richardson, for that same house is going to cost you close to $500,000. So, just be open to looking farther out if possible, and be prepared to make quick decisions. Again, we're not going to be able to see homes as many times as we were in the past. So you have to really know what you want, what you can afford, and be confident in those decisions because you're going to have to make them quickly. And then, of course, hire a great agent because we are here for you. We're going to be able to be with you along the way, get your team together, and really make sure that this process goes as smoothly as possible. We can't control everything, but we can control a lot. So yeah, that's it. Does anyone else have any questions? I went a little over time. Apologies for that. Oh, does someone have a chat? Sorry, I haven't been watching it. Is anyone still doing open houses or just virtual? I live in Collin County, so technically I can do open houses, but I don't believe I will be. I'm trying to quarantine myself for safety of others. Dallas County, you cannot. So it's up to you in the counties that allow it. Cool. Any other questions, guys? Any other feedback for me? This is the first time I'm doing this class virtually, so I can't see some of your faces to still see if you need anything. No? Anything I should change or be more
Yeah, I
specific?
thought
Or
the content was great, Elizabeth. I mean, I've seen you do this type of thing live, and this is the first virtual time. The content is really good, and I'm glad that you added that virtual page because it has changed a little bit. The only thing I would do just from a visual standpoint on that credit, the pie chart,
Yeah.
like the blues are difficult to read.
Okay.
For me, I would just make it more.
Yeah, that was one that's left over from Nathan's slides. I just kind of left it.
Yeah,
But
you
yeah,
just
I can
change the
definitely make
colors. I think it'd be
the
easier.
credit screen more easier
And
to read.
I've never heard you talk about, those numbers like what was it, 580
580,
and
620,
620
720.
and 720. I've never heard you talk about that. So I've learned.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate you being on. Hopefully, when I do this later on today, I'll have some more people to talk to so I can get better and better. And yeah, if you guys have any other questions for me, just let me know.
Thanks. I loved this. I think it's so helpful, especially for somebody that I bought my house and it was the first time. So I think it was just really a lot of good information,
Good. Yeah, I'm glad.
Also, my sister was talking to her last night, my little sister, and she's buying her first home, and she's out of Houston working with somebody who has not explained any of this to her. And so really listening to it from her perspective, this is all so helpful because basically they're just like, here's, just sign this and we're going to move forward with the contract.
Yeah. Well, I've been recording this the whole time just for myself. So if you want the recording afterwards, just to be like, here's the class I attended, I'm happy to give that to you.
Thank you. This is a great format and a great class.
Well, cool. Thanks, guys, again. I will
Thanks,
talk to you
Elizabeth.
guys later.